Hello, my little Luxes. Welcome to another episode of Luxy Charms, or whatever we want to call it at this point, because you know what? We're always evolving and changing on this channel. Or why am I saying we? I'm always evolving and changing on this channel. I mean, you're all coming along for the ride of the chaos of whatever's happening, so I guess we all are a part of these changes. But I'm taking a small little break from doing some of my artwork, pieces, voiceovers, however you want to put it, get in front of camera, and just give another movie review. I guess I should introduce myself. Hello, hi, I am Charcy Lux. I am also cosplayer Charcy Lux, but I've been enjoying taking a small breather and break from doing cosplay. Been going through a lot of things here recently between physical health and mental health, and you know what? To get into a cosplay look, as much fun as it is, and that it is a lot of work. And for me, it takes a lot of planning, it takes a lot of ideas. Usually I would put it around a theme month, but I am blabbing at this point. But if you are brand new here, hello, hi, welcome. And if this is your first time coming to my channel, please like, subscribe, please come join the Luxy family. As like I said, it's chaos here. If you love horror-themed anything and horror movies and that kind of stuff, this is the perfect place for you. And today I am continuing my series that I was doing, but I did the first episode talking about Masters of Horror, which is directed and created by Mick, who is a very well-known horror icon. What's iconic enough is the fact that I'm also doing a series where I'm going to be talking about all the Critter films and that, and the second one that I will eventually be talking about and everything, Mick is the director of that one, so I'm excited to talk about that one as well. But so we're all kinds of related when it comes to talking about falling down the rabbit hole, finding links to different actors, actresses, writers, directors. But you know what? When we think about it, the horror genre really is a small collective group. So it's one of those things where it's pretty easy to link everybody together in some which way or form. But anyway, let's get back on topic and everything. Like I said, welcome to my channel and everything, and thank you to everybody who keeps returning and coming back. But I want you all to get excited with me as I talk about episode 2 for Masters of Horror. And we're going to be talking about Dreams in the Witch House by Stuart Godden. Now, what I love about the Master of Horror series is that each episode is focused around somebody who is very famous in the horror genre. So each episode is directed and written by a different crew, and a lot of the times you will see that these directors in the horror genre have a select people that they love working with over and over and over again. And Stuart Godden is very well known for his H.P. Lovecraft films that he adapts into more modern times and everything. Now, the writers for Dreams in the Witch House are Mick, H.P. Lovecraft, and Dennis Paoli. Now, what I really like about Dennis Paoli is that he is well known for his adaptations in his writing when it comes to changing H.P. Lovecraft films. Now, this name will seem very familiar to a lot of us out there in the Mutant fam, because on the last drive-in, they just recently showed Suitable Flesh, and who other was the writer on that, because it's based off of an H.P. Lovecraft film, was Dennis Paoli. And as I always say, I apologize if I'm butchering the pronunciation of names. As always, what comes with my movie reviews, or in this one's case, a show review, spoiler alert, and viewer discretion advised. So this H.P. Lovecraft adaptation focuses around Walter, who is a grad student. But of course, when you are a college student, you are extremely poor, and usually, especially certain fields that you are in, you can't even have the luxury of having the spare time to have a job. So he needs to find a very cheap place to live. So Walter finds a very old boarding house that has super cheap rooms. So, of course, he ends up moving into this place. But almost immediately after moving into this old, run-down house, very strange and creepy things keep happening to Walter, including the fact that every night he has these very unusual and unstable nightmares that just freak him out. In the time frame that he is in this house, he also comes to know several of his other neighbors, which is including the very atrocious landlord, and I guess that's putting it mildly and nicely for the very weird, cruel landlord. But he also meets his very next door neighbor, who is Frances, and her baby son Danny. And he ends up helping them out because one of the days that he is trying to study for his thesis, there is a horrible scream that happens down the hall.
Hello?
It won't stop! It won't go away!
Oh, God.
Oh, it won't leave us alone!
And here what has happened is that Frances and Danny are dealing with rats coming into their room. And Walter, being the good guy that he is, decides to help them out.
Yeah, it won't get back in that way.
Well, maybe somewhere else.
I don't see any other place it could fit through.
So him and Frances start to become good friends, good neighbors and everything. But as time is progressing, Walter is still having very strange, very bad nightmares. Well, this brings him into the introduction of another neighbor, one that lives on the downstairs floor. I guess I should have included that Walter lives in a room upstairs, which leads him to meet his downstairs neighbor, Masurewicz, which I am probably butchering the pronunciation of that name. So I will, if I remember, I will put up right here how to spell the name and everything. But he's introduced to this neighbor because of the fact that this man is very loudly praying, so loudly that Walter can hear him downstairs. And this man is just super strange himself. But he continues to try and warn Walter about the room he's staying in, because years prior to that, he himself had been in that room. Walter talks about the fact that he helps out Frances and the fact that he was helping her out with the rat problem and that kind of thing. So the neighbor asks him if the rat has a face.
You saw a rat? A big one?
Yeah.
With a face.
So these are more strange things going on. Masurewicz keeps trying to tell Walter that there is a serious, horrible problem with this house, and it's connected to Walter's room, and that it is a strange gateway connected to a witch that is in a different world, and somehow her and her evil familiar, the rat with a face, is able to enter into their world, and that she forces people to do terrible, horrible things. Well, Walter, thinking that all of this is just insane talk and everything, decides to ignore his neighbor and proceeds to just keep trying to live his life as a grad student. Walter keeps having these horrible, horrible dreams. But each time he's having these dreams, it's almost as if they're connected to reality. So if something happens in a dream, all of a sudden it's happening to him in real life as well. For instance, Frances has an emergency where she has a job interview to go to, but she can't find a babysitter for her son Danny. So she asks Walter for some help if he can babysit Danny for her while she's out, and that it wouldn't be for too long. So Walter, wanting to help out his neighbor, decides to stay with Danny, and he's just working on his thesis paper, which we'll also get back to his thesis paper and how it is important to the story as well. But as these tales go, he falls asleep, well, because while he's in his sleeping state, the witch comes to visit him. But she comes to him in the form of Frances, because you find out that Walter is very attracted to Frances and that he likes her a lot and she's tricking him, and she marks up his back with her mark. Well, when he wakes up, he ends up waking up in his room. He's not with Danny, he's not in Frances's room because that's where he was babysitting. So Frances comes back and Danny is screaming from the room, locked in there by himself. So of course she's furious with him for the fact that he had left her son completely alone, and he was crying and screaming and afraid, and Walter's just confused because as soon as he goes back with Frances to her room, his thesis papers are still there in the chair where he left them, and he's just befuddled and confused and he can't figure out what's going on. Well, things keep progressing as they always do, and the nightmares keep getting worse and worse. And you slowly start to realize that the thesis that Walter is working on is very closely related to what is going on with him at this boarding house. And that he finds in his thesis talking about the ways that parallel worlds could be tied together because of certain structures just would bend and open gateways.
Two membranes can intersect, and if you know where they cross and how to recognize those angles, you can go from one universe to the other.
And that Walter's room just happens to have that type of gateway. But he's not even listening to himself as he's talking about these gateways and these portals and opening up and talking about his thesis paper more and more, that his nightmares are tied to this gateway. You find out that Walter is being cursed by this witch and her familiar, and the whole idea in the process is that the witch is trying to take control of his mind because that's what his downstairs neighbor was trying to warn him, that this had happened to him years prior himself. So when Walter goes to speak to this neighbor again, and he continues to tell Walter, you need to beware of this witch because she wants to take over your mind and you will do terrible things. And he even mentions himself that he did terrible things. So we're finding little pieces more and more as things keep progressing and going on.
She can take him, yes, but she needs a human soul, a man to make the sacrifice. The devil, he does not thirst for blood, he thirsts for souls.
And the ultimate goal of the evil witch and her familiar is to force Walter to sacrifice Danny in the name of the devil. But will Walter be able to gain control of his mind and to fight against the evil forces of the witch and her familiar? Or will he fail and fall prey to her evil plans? Now, I didn't want to give away the full ending to this one. I know it's one of those things, especially with my show, that I go into depth talking about the shows, the movies, and a lot of the times I will reveal the ending. Now, this is one of those that, especially if you know anything that has to do with H.P. Lovecraft, that you can kind of predict what is going to happen in the ending. But, like I said, some of the topics and things that I wanted to bring up again was the fact that Walter's thesis is tied to the entire premises of this show, or to the entire premises of this story. Because, like I said, his thesis is all about the ideas of gateways and how different dimensions and portals can open up. So it's just one of those ironic things that while we're talking about Walter's dealing with this evil witch and everything going on, that at the same time he has the answers at his fingertips and he's not directly listening to them. Not until it gets to the very end. Now, with Stuart Gordon, it should make a lot of sense that for his episode, that it would be based around an H.P. Lovecraft novel, because that is what he is mostly well known for. Some of his other films that are directly tied with H.P. Lovecraft, also with the help of Dennis Paoli, doing the adaptations for the screenplays and everything, is Reanimator, From Beyond. You also have Castle Freak. Dennis Paoli and Stuart Gordon worked together in a lot of films. But at the same time, with their great chemistry and everything that they do together, they also like to work with the same actors and actresses in a lot of their different films. So this is very common when it comes to films, and I mean, it's not just in the horror genre. You will see this happen a lot with different directors and writers, that they will work with the same crew, they will work with the same actors and actresses. If they have a rapport, it just makes sense that they're going to keep using the same people, because they also form bonds and friendships with these people as well. Now, I won't go too fully into trivia and that kind of stuff, because I will be pulling that into shorts and that kind of stuff, but a lot of this stuff I just find fascinating, and as I keep saying, you'll fall into these rabbit holes, and the biggest one was the whole fact with Dennis Paoli, and realizing that he was the writer for Suitable Flesh. So right away, we have that connection. It's just a weird chef's kiss in that moment, for the fact that something that I just recently watched for The Last Drive-In is tied to this new series that I'm working on. But it also shows just how much these actors, actresses, writers, directors are all tied together when it comes to these certain types of genres and film types. So instead of me making this become an hour long and everything, because let's face it, I love talking about films, I love talking about horror, and just diving into the films, and we could go into the diagnosis when it comes to the deeper meanings to these films. But in the long run, horror is just fun for me. It gives me an escape from the real world and everything. And a lot of people will question and be like, why do you like horror films so much? Well, you know, sometimes it's nice to see that there is something else that is worse out in the world, and that we're not dealing with this type of chaos. I mean, we don't have evil witches coming for us. Although there might be some things going in the world where we might be wondering if we're cursed or something, but neither here nor there. But I really want to thank you for joining me here on another Luxy Charms, or thank you for just joining me here on this channel. And I really hope that you enjoyed this one. Let me know if you've seen Masters of Horror and which are your favorite episodes and everything. And I hope that you are watching along with some of these, or all of them. I hope you're watching along with me. How about that? Because they are free to watch on Tubi right now. So I've been really enjoying going back and watching them again. It's been years since the last time I've watched them. But once again, thank you. And if you would like to follow me on my other social medias, there will be a link in the description down below, including a link to my Patreon. And I love and appreciate your support and your help if you come and join me on my Patreon. And on the screen you can see a shout out to my fellow Patreon members, and thank you so much to everyone who has joined me on there. I appreciate you all coming along for the craziness that is me. We'll just keep saying that because I am all over the place, so you never know what to expect. And as I've mentioned before, that my Patreon has exclusive content, especially exclusive photos, exclusive vlogs that you will not see on any other platform. And a special shout out to Kurt, who is my ultimate Lux on there. And remember, I am the afterlife of the party, but I would love for you to come and join me in the afterlife of the party. And always remember to slay, subscribe, like, and always be yourself. And until next time, my little Luxes, I should hopefully be covering the movie review for Critters 2, and like I said, we have a wonderful connection with Mick Garris on that one. But until next time, my little Luxes, have a Luxy Charms kind of day. Bye!